Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Barely Bookish podcast. Today, we are continuing on with part 3 of Interview with the Vampire with Candace.
Hi.
Lots of withs in that first statement. It's fine. It worked out.
It just means it's
Um,
chock full of awesome.
yeah, because we can't have any periods, just continuing run-on sentences. Okay, so they made it to Paris, which hot take, I actually don't like Paris. Like, everyone tells me it's great, and when I went, I thought it was really full of people and kind of
Yeah,
gross.
really. Yeah, I heard it's
Yeah.
not clean. There are a lot
No,
of people who act like it's amazing, but it's actually completely filthy and disgusting inside.
I've heard a theory that the reason it's kind of dirty is because, like, in America, you can't go like 2 feet without encountering a trash can.
Mm,
And there was like okay, I think there was a study done where they like figured out how long it takes for people to like basically throw trash on the ground
mhm.
because they're like, okay, I'm not gonna hold it. And it was like not very long. Like,
No.
if they don't immediately see a trash can within their vicinity, they're throwing it on the ground.
Yeah. I can't tell you how often I have seen people just kind of put trash outside of their car. Now granted, we live in this hellhole of, Florida. But
Hmm.
but I saw someone, I want to say it was like 2 weeks ago, driving
Hmm.
around. We're stopped at a stoplight. They opened their car. They put a McDonald's gigantic drink on the ground, just like on the road, closed
Hmm.
their door, and then the light turned green and they drove away. And the drink was just on the ground. And I was like, I don't, can't you, you can't just hold on to it for just
No.
5 more minutes?
What?
Meanwhile, I'm driving around with I don't know, a little league team's worth of empty water bottles in my car because I never want to throw it out. And
I
they're
feel
all
that.
in half finished condition. There's various amounts of water in each of them because I'm like, I'm gonna
Hmm.
come back to it. No, I'm not. But I just want to find a place where I can recycle all these bottles. It doesn't take that much,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Have you heard of the pisseuse? I think it's
Mm-mm.
called a pissoir. In France, they have bathrooms because people, I guess,
Mm.
pee on the street
Yeah.
when they're drunk and stuff, and the city
Hmm.
stinks, and they're like, "We got to fix it." So they have pissoirs where it's like an open air bathroom. So it's like you go around this little corner, and there's
Hmm.
urinals inset into this little partition, and you can
Yeah.
just whip your junk out and pee. It's only for men, obviously, but you could just
Yeah.
or people with, if you have an STP, a stand to pee device, you can also use this. But people just whip their stuff out in the
Yeah.
road inside of one of these little
Wild.
areas, and then they relieve themselves and they leave. Now, on the one hand, I'm like, that's pretty great because who needs porta potties? But on the other
Hmm.
hand, I'm just like, ew, though.
Ew.
Put
Yeah.
them somewhere. Put them somewhere. They shouldn't just be floating around in the road. Put them in an area.
Yeah.
I don't
When
know.
I was in London, I was very, very like casually corrected to not wear open toe footwear for the same problem. And then also, when I went, so like, okay, I was in London during Pride, so
Mm-hmm.
I obviously went because it's huge. It's huge. Like, it's like one of the biggest prides I've ever been to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they were giving out waters, like little paper cups of water, and I was like, okay, I'm used to like then there being a trash can very close. There was no
Yeah.
trash can, so I'm just like holding my garbage, and I'm like, how long? And I'm just like seeing cups littering the street, and I'm like, and I also saw a news article because this was in 2017, I
Uh-huh.
think 2016, 2017, um about how like some cities were saying that like their pride parades are always having garbage everywhere. So I'm like, I'm not going to be the one, and I'm like carrying my little garbage. I'm like, okay, I've been carrying this garbage for like 10 minutes, no trash can in sight, so I had to like just like put it on the ground, and I'm like, I hate myself right now because I am
Mm-hmm.
the problem, because I'm like, I don't know how long to carry this shit for, like I don't know, can I like fold it up in my little pocket and like shove it in there? But it's like getting weird now, but yeah, no trash cans, lots of grossness. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I obviously don't want to shit on anyone's country, but like, can someone tell me why there is not a trash can anywhere? Please, and if that has been corrected since 2017, hopefully. maybe.
Yeah, I totally feel that. Like I'm not sure what it is. Maybe
Yeah.
a listener could say
Yeah,
something
let
to
us
us.
know,
Let us know.
please, because I feel like an asshole a little bit, being like, why do you not have more trash cans? You know, why do I have to pay to go to the bathroom?
Uh,
Like, why can I pay to go to the bathroom and then somehow I still don't get trash cans? Like, is that not all like rec, like public rec? What is that called?
yeah.
Yeah, public recreation. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that should all go to the same fund. I'm giving you money to pee. Where do your
I don't
taxes
get
go
it.
to?
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But like, there's a lot of great things I love about Europe. But that was one of those things where I was like, come on, please, please, because it's like when you have a big event like Pride and like many other events, I feel like there needs to be more trash cans, at least specifically for that.
Yeah.
To not have that for like an event, I don't really understand because like your whole city's participating.
Yeah, I
Get some
definitely don't get
trash
it.
cans.
I don't get it. I think that people I don't know. I don't understand being so lax.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's I mean, I feel like they're older than America, so maybe there's
Mhm.
something we don't know about. Like they've been making this work for a longer period of time
Maybe
than
they have
America
secret
has
trash
been.
goblins
This
that
is what I'm
come
saying.
out in the night and
Maybe,
eat it all.
maybe there's like little goblins. Yes. Agree. Yes.
I hope.
Whew.
Anyways, now that we roasted Europe for like 6 minutes, um, so they're in Paris. They go to this fancy hotel. However, in Paris, I have never had like better sandwiches than the ones I ate in Paris.
One
Top
day I'll
tier.
go and I'll tell you what I think.
Okay, please. And
Mhm.
then, when you go, or if you end up in Chicago for some reason, there is a like convenience store slash grocery store, and I'm gonna pronounce it wrong because my French failed me in high school, but it's called Pret a Manger,
Mhm.
and it's got little sandwiches, and like they were like €2, and they have the same sandwiches in the single one that's in America in Chicago, and it's so good, so good. And they also have like coffee monthly like coffee subscriptions. It's
Mhm.
really cheap. So if you like coffee, that's cool.
I don't think we have one here. I think there might be some up north, like in
Yeah.
Boston and stuff.
At the time I only knew there was one in Chicago. Anyways, so they're staying at this fancy hotel.
Mhm.
Claudia got this quote lady doll unquote, which like first of all, if you said that to someone 2023, they're thinking you got a sex doll. Let's just start there. Like,
That's true.
what else would you think? I would not think like a doll toy. If you said
No.
I got a lady doll, I'd be like,
Yeah.
okay,
A
sharing a
doll that is
lot of
also a lady,
yeah. I'm
not
like you're sharing
a
a
doll that is shaped like a lady.
yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're
I
not
would be
wrong.
like, this is a weird way to like share your like sexual experience right out here and out loud and over coffee. But go off, I guess. Um, and then Claudia decided to crush it in front and right in front of Louis's eyeballs.
It's because she's like going through her fucking villain era. That's what it is.
Hmm.
Like Claudia is like, you know what? I've had enough of your shit. After traveling through like Barovia or wherever they were. Barovia is
Hmm.
Dungeons and Dragons. That's not it. After traveling through the countryside and like into like
Hmm.
Transylvania and all that, right? And through Eastern Europe. I feel like Claudia just like has just had enough of literally every single person's shit. She's like, I am a better hunter. I am faster. I am swifter. I have keener eyes. I am more intellectual than you. I'm not
Hmm.
afraid of my nature. Like, I am best vampire. And
Hmm.
I'm tired of you not measuring up to my standards. And I feel like this is one of those situations where it's like there's a parent who like is really proud of their kid, but their kid is out of control and they don't know what to do. Like it's like we need to talk about Kevin, but it's we need to talk about Claudia. It's what it's like.
Yeah. Like I can't even be mad at Claudia because like she didn't have anyone good to really raise her,
She
you
didn't, and she
know?
didn't ask to be here.
Yeah,
So
no.
can't be upset with her, but she is going hard in a way
I'd
that
love to
perhaps
see
she didn't need to.
yeah, I'd love to see Claudia as a Gen Z vampire. I think it'd be really
Oh
good.
no. Oh no, please no. Too
I
much.
just ugh,
Everyone would be dead. She'd be like, "You know what? Enough. I'm going to just do sick burns on TikTok all day. Leave me
I
alone.
just I
Go get
think that
roasted."
she'd be like, you know what? Fuck it. Go off, I guess. I just think it's really funny that you brought me out here. I didn't ask to be born, so like really all of this, you problem.
Totally though. Also totally. Okay? Also correct.
Yeah.
And I
There's
really like I have a very serious and sincere need
mhm,
for Louis to like get with the fucking program. I feel like,
literally.
especially considering that like this is being written like 100 years or 80 years or however long it's been like
Mhm,
between this moment with him and Claudia in Paris and then like when he's talking to the boy, right? It's been like 60 years at least. So
mhm,
I'm like, why are you still like, you know what I mean? Like,
mhm.
like why are we still like, I don't know, like he's still just like I don't know, a baby vampire about so many things. Like every scene, he's just like, I looked around in wonderment. I was bewildered, right? He's still
Yeah,
like, gasp, clutch pearls. And Claudia's like, I have lost all of my patience for you.
yeah. I really feel like I would side with Claudia here. Like
Yeah.
if I was put on the outskirts and they were like, you have to live with one of these two people. You get either a small toddler who does go on killing rampages from time to time, or you get Louis who likes to pretend he's human, A, tell you that you're evil all the time, B, and then also tell you're a spawn of Satan and judge you while also going and killing priests. I'd be like, you know, mm, actually, I think I'm gonna be with Claudia on this one because at least she like hones up to her heinous acts. Okay, because like Louis just like I'm a good person, kind of, but then I do this terrible thing and now I'm a terrible person. Oh, pity me! But like
Yeah.
you're the worst. I'm okay. I'm walking on the lines of moral ground. You, however, shitty.
Yeah. 110% shitty. And like, I feel like there are some parallels here too. Like the
Mhm.
way that Louis acts toward Claudia versus the way that Lestat acted toward Louis. Like there's definitely like not a cycle of abuse because Louis doesn't abuse Claudia, but I also don't
Mhm.
think that he takes the stand that he needs to communicate with her. Like he
Mhm.
doesn't put forth the effort that he should to educate her about the world around her. And so she's learning all of this shit secondhand, very much like
Yeah.
he did. But instead of being scared by it, she's going, oh, well, you know what? Like she was so young when they turned her, she didn't learn fear. Like she didn't learn
Yeah.
the fear that a person has, right? Of being of like, oh, I shouldn't do this. This is going to get me to a place that's negative, right? She's not thinking about
Mhm.
that. She's just like, what's on the menu today? Life. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't care. Like he's afraid of everything because he was already kind of fucked up, right? Like when Lestat found
Mhm.
him at the beginning of this book, like he was already like in his feelings about his life and didn't care about things and was having fights with his brother and not being a good brother to his sister and right like Louis already was like a little emo baby bitch, right? But
Mhm.
like Claudia didn't know anything. This is all she knows. So like he's
Mhm.
responsible to fill that in, but he's too busy being on his own shit to like give her insights about how
Yeah.
she can be a better vampire, right? How she can have more empathy, right? Like
Mhm.
in a way that because that's really Louis's issue is that he has too much empathy. So
Yeah.
why not try to find the balance with Claudia? But I feel like he's just so busy, like even down to like the doll he like realizes, oh, she's missing, like she's gone, I have to go look for her, like where is she comes back. He talks about how she comes back like under cover of darkness kind of, and how like people don't notice that they come and go from the hotel because it's like a busy one, like where a lot of travelers are, so no one
Mhm.
really looks at them weird when they go out in the middle of the night and stuff. But when she
Mhm.
goes out by herself, people just like are enchanted, and like he doesn't like try to put a stop to it. He's because he's afraid of her, right? Like he's scared of
Yeah.
her. And she knows that he's scared of her, which I think is why she crushes that doll right in his face to be like, look what I can do. I can destroy
Yeah.
anything. And instead of being like, hi, can we please have a conversation? He's just like cowering. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, you're too old for this.
I
No
feel like
offense.
he's like a
You're too
neglectful father. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like neglectful under the guise of caring too much.
Yeah.
It seems like garbage. It seems like
Seems
trash.
like one of those, like the kids where they're like, "Oh, my parent is my best friend," but like the parent like never really raised them, and
Yeah.
they're their best friend because they put all the responsibility of all the other children on that kid.
Yep.
That's what it
Yep. And
feels
it, and
like.
it made it seem like, oh, well, I'm putting this responsibility on you because we're pals and I trust you, rather
Mhm.
than I don't want to do it. That's why
Yeah,
I'm giving you this job, because I don't want to do it. So you're going to
yeah,
do it. And I'm going to tell you that we're friends so that you feel bad when you don't do it, because you're not supposed to be. And I hate
yeah.
that. And like, it doesn't feel malicious. Like, it doesn't feel like Louis is doing this on purpose. It feels like he was saddled with a problem. Because, granted, like, is it his fault that Claudia is a vampire? Partially, because he fed off of her and put her in a position where Lestat was able to make her into a vampire. But
Mhm.
like, it's all, we also know that like if Lestat hadn't made her into a vampire, that she might have survived. Like, she might have been fine.
Mhm.
She might have been resilient enough because they put her in that home. So like, she might have been okay if Lestat hadn't turned her. So I don't know. Like, it's complicated because it's clear that we're supposed to be afraid of Claudia too, right?
Mhm.
That she's supposed to look like she's out of control. But when I read her story, like, she's essentially a grown ass woman that's stuck in a child's body. And I can't imagine what that must feel like. Like,
Mm-mm.
I'm someone who doesn't look my age. I look maybe 5 years younger than I am, 10 to some people. And I can tell you right now, it is no fucking picnic, right? Like, it's lovely to look good for my age, right? That's nice.
Yeah,
But when it comes to being taken seriously, or going to a job and looking for a managerial or a director position, right? And someone like judges you by the way you look, like, that fucking sucks. So I can only imagine what it's like to be an actual child, but a woman. Like, fuck that.
yeah.
That's the pits.
See, I've only ever had the opposite problem where I've always apparently looked like I was like 25 to 28 since I was like 15.
Oh no.
Yeah. So then I got like creepy men, which is like
That's
the
that's an
opposite,
opposite problem. Yeah.
but very worse. Like not
Yeah.
worse, but like a equal amount of like terrible. You know what I mean?
I mean, I would argue worse, because like, the worst that I get is like when there's a man who, like, well, not now, but when I was younger, a man who thought I was younger than I really was and still
Hmm.
talked to me, right? Like,
Hmm.
seeing that somebody is a predator because they're trying to talk to you thinking that you're younger than you are, like,
Hmm.
that's gross, right? That's terrible. But for you,
Hmm.
you actually were young and having
Hmm.
people approach you, and that's, to me, I think that's worse.
I
Definitely.
don't I don't even know which one's worse, but like either way, equally terrible. Like at least like they're both terrible in their own ways. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But like I've been thinking while I was reading Claudia's story about that girl who she like stopped growing at like 12 or whatever.
Hmm.
Have you seen her on TLC?
I
And
have.
how now she has like a boyfriend.
Freaks me out.
Yeah. And it's like, listen, I'm not saying anything. I will say that I will withhold judgment until I see his ex-girlfriends.
Hmm.
Until that comes forward, I have nothing to say.
Yeah, because like, he could, I mean, he probably
He
does
could,
love her, right? I'm not trying to say
yeah.
that the man doesn't love her or whatever. Like, I'm not trying to take anything away from her, but at the
Mhm.
same time, it's weird.
Danger. But like I feel like Claudia would be in the same boat where it's like, yeah, obviously she's like an 80-year-old woman trapped in this 5-year-old's body. And like anytime someone would want to date her, you have to like look very closely and be like, are you dating her because she looks like she's a 5-year-old?
Mhm.
Because like you could say, oh, it's a genetic condition, whatever you got to do
Yeah.
so that she could have like an adult relationship. But like also you're gonna have to look at the man real carefully and be like, or person. I'm not
Mhm.
saying anything about
No,
Claudia's
you
preference.
got to do heavy screening is what you
Yeah,
need.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know.
Lots
I
of
was,
feelings.
yeah,
Lots of
lots,
feelings.
lots of feelings on her in that one. To be honest, oh god. Especially with like her in this chapter. So like right now, she asks Louis what it's like to make love and hints that she's trying to basically pass off that she has like dwarfism.
Mm.
which I don't know if that's the proper terminology. Please correct me if it's not, if anybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was like, Claudia, like, go off, I guess. But like, what are we supposed to infer from this? Are we supposed to infer that Claudia's had partners? No. Like, is she attempting to have a partner? Like, what are we supposed
Yeah.
to be inferring from here?
I don't know. I mean, I think that we're supposed to know that she wants a partner,
Mm-hmm.
and that she has urges, but
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem to be able to um, understand how to go about pursuing them.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it feels to me. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's funny. When I was young, this book was not creepy because I was a kid and I was just like everything's
Yeah.
interesting and wild. But now I'm an adult and I'm like,
Dude, this book gets real
st-
creepy sometimes.
still good, just very creepy.
Yeah. I
Very
had to
creepy.
Google Anne Rice for a minute because I was like, first of all, I needed to know, like later in the chapter, my Google was, is Anne Rice queer? I have no answers. No one told me yes or no.
So Anne Rice was married to a man, but
Okay.
expressed, I believe she did express some fluidity in her sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
She also wrote under two different pseudonyms. One was Anne Rochelaire, and she did the Taming of Sleeping Beauty, I believe it's called, which is like a heavy kink BDSM erotic novel collection.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a
Go
trilogy.
off, girl.
Yeah, it's very heavy kink though. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
for the faint of heart. It's not like 50 Shades or something. It's like
Yeah.
serious. um,
Fair
and then
enough.
she does have a queer son named Christopher Rice, who is also
Mm-hmm.
an author.
That's cute.
Hmm. I've read some of
So
his
stuff
books. It's not
in.
bad. He's pretty good.
Okay.
Much more brevity in his books than his mother's.
I don't know what brevity means.
Brevity is not going on for 6 pages about how
Ah,
nice this hotel is.
yeah, I probably should have figured out brevity is close to brief and
Yep.
pasted those together, but I did not.
That's okay. Because let me tell you, like, this lady loves to go on.
Yeah,
This
sometimes I
book does
skim
not
a
have to be
little.
this long. Yeah.
No.
I absolutely skim.
Yeah.
Absolutely skim. Yo, I will tell you this right now. Should you be interested in reading any other Anne Rice novels, The Witching
Mhm.
Hour, I would argue, is worse. There's
I'll just
way
watch the TV show maybe.
yeah, there's way more exposition in
Mhm.
that book, in The Witching Hour. Like that one, literally, when she's describing the house, it's like 5 pages.
Oh my
just on
god.
just on this house where these witches live. Which, like, word, you want to talk to me about this house? Cool, tell me about it. Paint a picture,
Mhm.
man. Right? Show
Yeah.
me, tell me all of the things. But like, break it up. You could do that over 6 chapters. You know what I mean? Each
Mhm.
time we go back to the house, you reveal something else about it that informs something in the chapter. So she gets a little Stephen Kingy sometimes. I'd argue a
Yeah.
little worse than Stephen King because he tends to not write in circles. She sometimes writes in circles.
Yeah.
Um, but it is what it is. People love
It's
this.
fine.
So
Yeah, I listen. I was just happy to have a good little gothic book.
yeah.
So, it's fine. But like, yeah, okay. I was trying to figure out the relationship if it was shifting between Louis and Claudia because she like makes weird things about how they're wed, and I'm like, I don't think the meaning of wed has changed. Okay, I don't think.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that assertion. It
Okay.
is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that I feel like her language toward Louis is very possessive,
Mm-hmm.
despite the fact that she wants freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like her language toward Louis is also very romantic, despite the fact that
Mm.
she's essentially his child.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I think that she's like at a place now where she's just like, I'm so far away from being anyone's child that I talk however I want. But like
Yeah.
even when they were in Romania or wherever, like in the previous chapter, like she called him her lover,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Mm.
I don't think that they're being romantic in that way.
Eh.
Uh,
Listen, this
but
book came out in the 70s. I can't make much you know.
you're not wrong.
like, because like sometimes I'll be reading a Jane Austen novel and they'll say like something that does not mean like this, like, okay, like fine example of
Mhm.
like the term queer. Now I'm like, okay, that means gay usually.
Mhm.
And then but like they'll say it to mean like happy or whatever the fuck. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, this came out in the 1800s. This came out in the 70s. I can't really like say that lovers mean something different. I can't
You
really
cannot.
be like, maybe wed doesn't mean marriage. Maybe it's different. And I can't.
Yeah.
It's like if this came out in the 1800s, I'll be like, okay, maybe this doesn't mean wed in the way I understand. It's a little difficult, okay?
Yeah.
The other thing I had to like when I Googled Anne Rice, because I was like, girl, what? Um, it said Vampire Chronicles, homoerotic novel. And I'm
Mhm.
like, yes, cool. However, right now I'm getting a lot of Claudia and Louis. So I know that this is a series, but like having only read book one, when you say homoerotic,
Yeah.
lots of underlines that are erotic, it's very strange to me that this child is being romantic. Okay, that's just you see what I'm
You're
saying?
you're not no lie detected.
Like maybe it is more homoerotic in like when we get more um Louis and Armand later. However, when I read that and I've only read book one, I'm like, okay, back it up, girl, because like, why? I don't know. I
I
don't know what.
I will admit
Mm-hmm.
that the so the homoeroticism is also,
Mm-hmm.
I think, within um I can't remember her name, Madeline, I think. The
Mm-hmm.
lady who makes the dolls in
Yes.
Claudia.
Yeah.
That is I'm not trying to skip ahead,
Yeah.
but that is also part of, I think, the homoeroticism in this novel
Mm-hmm.
as well. Um that's to me, that relationship is even weirder though. So that's not really helping your
Yeah.
case at all.
No.
That one's even weirder than Lestat and Louis. So, and Armand. Like it's
Yeah.
so we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
But yes, that's the homoeroticism. It's super duper weird. I understand the principle of it, and I think when we watch the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and likely the television show,
Mm-hmm.
it'll make more sense because the actors who play Claudia are all over the age of like 12. I think Kirsten Dunst was 12 when she was cast as Claudia, or
Okay.
13, which like isn't better, but it's
Yeah.
not 5, right? It's not 5 years old.
Yeah.
So like, like this woman that we were talking about that was on the learning channel, like that has that, that illness that caused her
Mm-hmm.
to stop growing at 12, right? Like, and now she still looks like a 12-year-old girl even though she's 23. Like
Mm-hmm.
that to me is more reasonable, and my brain can wrap itself around that
Yeah.
better than a 5-year-old that's like, what's in your pants, right? Like
Yeah.
that the two are very different things for me.
Yeah.
I have a very hard time with it, and I mean, I felt the same way when I read Game of Thrones. Sansa Stark and Arya and all of them, they're all like 3 to 5 years younger in the book than they are in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all much younger, and like when
Mm-hmm.
I read like Arya Stark's like 8, I was like, no. Sansa's 13. I'm like, no, no, no,
No. Sometimes
no,
I
no,
just
no,
like
no, no, no,
change
no.
that, like cross it out a little bit. But like, because when they first introduce the characters, most of the time they only
Hmm.
say it once what their age is.
Right.
And then by the time as the book goes on, I'm like 5 cross out, 10 cross out, whatever.
Yeah.
Just to like wrap my head around this character. But like they really keep reiterating the fact that she's only like in a 5-year-old's body, and it makes
Yeah.
everything drastically creepier.
Yeah, it's such a bummer. It's such a
Yeah.
bummer because like it could be, I mean, again, 10 would still be a problem, but it would be
Hmm.
less creepy than 5.
Yeah. But
Like
then like also
still creepy, but just less creepy.
you're still like honestly, the creepiest part too is that like you could have explored this entire thing without making her flirt with basically her father. Like,
Yes.
I feel like we could have been like, okay, it's fucking weird that like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she's trapped in this 5-year-old body, but like, of course, she's a grown woman in her mind, whatever. Like, I get it, but
Mm-hmm.
like, why are you making her flirt with her dad? That shit's like
I
you're crossing another line. Like, we already had a couple lines in the sand that you jumped over, and now like
yep.
the final stand we had, you just
Yeah.
kind of like kicked your feet over it. Like,
Yeah, now we're like getting into like weird incest territory. And it's like, but she's not really his kid. And I'm like, that doesn't help me though.
no,
Like that doesn't do anything. It doesn't
mm,
fix it at all, right? Like she's still a minor in his care. And like
yeah,
granted, is she still a minor now? No. Is it just her body? Yes.
mhm,
Like that just doesn't erase the ick factor for me. And like I also appreciate like that this woman's trying to tell a story, right? Anne Rice is trying to
mhm,
tell a story. She's trying to give a perspective and a POV. But I don't understand how many other young people are also involved. Like,
mhm,
again, not to skip ahead, there's some weird stuff that's going to happen a few pages from now
mhm,
I'm also like, mm-hmm.
yeah,
And it's funny because when I read this book for the first time, I was in fourth or fifth grade. So I was young
mhm,
reading the book. So I think that's why a lot of these problems didn't seem like problems to me because I myself am like a kid, right? And I'm reading this
mhm,
book and I'm like, well, if I were a vampire, I would totally want to flirt with Brad Pitt as my dad. Obviously, he's so
mhm,
handsome, right?
yeah,
Like your like child logic is like that checks out. That's fine,
yeah,
right? But now I'm an adult and I'm like, what? No wonder my mom was mad I read this book.
yeah, right,
She was so upset. And like, I was like, you told me if I read it, I could watch the movie. And so I read it and now I can watch the movie. And my mom was just like, ugh, not realizing that the movie isn't a third as bad as the book in
mhm,
these ways that are risque and inappropriate for children.
yeah,
So I feel really bad because I think she read it after me because she was like, I think she assumed that it, oh, it's a book, it's harmless. No. But like, yeah, I don't know. The whole perspective for me is very strange. And I think I've mentioned this offhandedly before. I read this somewhere that somebody was like, "Oh, Interview with the Vampire is an allegory for modern art versus like fine art, like the old ways."
mhm,
Which I don't see a direct correlation between. I'm going to see if I can do some research and look it up, but and see if there's like papers and stuff written on this,
mhm,
um, because maybe that will help us shed some light on understanding Claudia a little bit better.
yeah,
Um, but the fact that like Louis looks at Claudia and like doesn't understand that there's a problem. Like he
mhm,
knows that she's going to be a problem because she's like ruthless and she
mhm,
doesn't really care about other people and she knows she's more powerful than humans and like
mhm,
thinks that's okay and wants to wield that power indiscriminately, right? Um
mhm,
I recognize all of that and I understand why he feels the way that he feels about her, why he's afraid of her. She is scary.
mhm,
Um but at the same time, I don't understand, like, with the lack of guidance he received from Lestat, why he wouldn't be trying harder to guide her, or at least have productive conversations. Ask her,
mhm,
where are you going? Can I go out with you? Try to learn from her as well as teach her, right? There are
mhm,
other ways that he could have gone about this. And I feel like Louis is just, again, he's just like too much on his own shit
yeah,
to come out and like actually try with this kid. You know what I mean? And he
mhm,
owes it to her. Like, she's partially in this position because of him.
yeah,
So I think before I saw Louis as kind of like a hero of this book, and now I kind of see him as more of an anti-hero or
yeah,
like he's just a protagonist that's around or whatever. Like he hasn't made all the right decisions either. Like was he as bad as Lestat? No. But was he also not great? Yeah. He was super not great.
yeah. I really don't think there's a hero in this novel at
I
all.
agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
I also
I don't think
okay,
anybody wins.
I do want to mention briefly that when I did the googling of Anne Rice to find out
Hmm.
if she was queer, um I saw mention of saying that like something about like transgender activism or something, and I
Mm,
wonder if that is what she was trying to do with Claudia.
mm.
Which, like, if you read it through that lens, I wonder how differently this novel would be for you if you were trying to see Claudia as like the 70s version of a transgender person.
Oh, like someone who's trapped in a body that does not belong to them and they're
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to live like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think like especially because the 70s were a sloppy time, that
Hmm.
that could absolutely be part of it.
Hmm.
Because Anne Rice has always been a friend of the queer community,
Yeah.
as from what I remember anyway.
I would
So
be interested in
that
someone's
could be it.
paper on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
But like without having that information readily available,
Yeah, it just looks
Claudia's still
bad.
fucking weird, you know?
Yeah, it just looks
It's
bad.
just,
It's just
like,
bad.
I don't want to
Yeah.
dunk on anyone's symbolism. However,
No, but also it's bad. So
yeah. Like it to me it's like, okay, did you recently see that someone on TikTok was posting that like you don't go on TikTok that much, but someone today was talking about how it's canon that Luke Skywalker's gay or something. Like
what? No.
I don't think it's true. However, someone was posting about that today. And I
Whoa.
saw like a couple of TikToks about it. So like I do need to do deeper research. Don't
Yeah,
take
I need
this.
more information.
Yeah. But I just saw it like right before we started recording, so I didn't get a
Yeah,
chance to
especially
like
because there's like a whole like Mara Jade continuum with Luke Skywalker's romance.
yeah. So
So
I don't
I need
know.
I need I need more information.
Yeah. But like, you know how people just come out like years later and be like, actually, the whole time Luke Skywalker was gay. Blah, 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 blah. Like that's
Yeah.
I want to make sure that no one's like doing that to Claudia
Yeah.
when like this is actually just kind of fucking weird, you know?
I hear you.
Yeah. Because that's like a big pet peeve of mine. I'm like, if a character's gay, make them gay. Don't be like
Yeah.
years later, be like, oh, actually, the whole time he had a secret boyfriend back there. You didn't know Ryan in the closet? No? Oh, weird. Like,
Yeah. Don't turn it around at the last minute, man. Like,
yeah,
well, I felt that way about, you know, She Who Shall Not Be Named and Dumbledore.
yeah, yeah.
Like, it felt very much like a let me pivot so that I can jump on this train that other people started for me.
Have you been avoiding all of the Hogwarts Legacy stuff?
Listen, like the plague. I
Have you
want
heard
nothing to
about
do with
their
it.
quote trans character
I
unquote?
want I have and I want nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Like they can go suck eggs. Like
I
it's
was
like
have you heard the rage about the name or no?
yes, it's
Okay.
terrible.
Yeah, because I was like, I saw that on Twitter. I saw the name. I said it out loud. I was like, oh my God.
No, dislike.
Dislike.
Not into it.
We could go on about that. Anyways,
Side quest.
side quest. Yeah. Either way, I was like, yeah, Danielle and I are not playing it, but I was like, of course. Of course you would, JK.
Yep.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Um anyways, yeah, I want the research paper about Claudia. Let me know if anybody has it, because I'm curious.
Hmm.
If it's out there, I want to know. But so then we have Louis being like, "All right, Claudia, you're being a bit much. Why are you flirting with me? You're my child. I'm gonna go
Hmm.
for a walk."
Right.
So he goes for a walk, and he senses that he's being followed, but they match his footsteps exactly. Okay, and then Anne Rice does the thing she always does, where she over describes it, and I became convinced that he was just like going crazy for a second.
Hmm.
And then, like, no, there was actually a person there. Because here's the thing, he then, like, describes this person looking exactly like him as if he's looking in a mirror. And I was like, is Dog actually just looking in a fucking mirror right now? Like, I thought, I thought we were having a moment where he's, like, passing, like, skyscrapers, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and he looks in the skyscraper, the rain's coming down, he sees his reflection, he goes, there's a sad man in that window. Oh my God, the man is me. Like, I thought that was going to be the moment we were having.
Yeah.
And
No.
then he gets jumped.
Yeah. Yes. 1000% jumped.
Yeah, yeah. They
Don't
have like
feel bad.
no, they have like a whole brawl. Like I'm just imagining, you know, this Louis just walking around minding his own business. Out of the sky, like scream, he gets like jumped. Like for what reason? He- Why?
Listen, like the second it happened, I was just like, so somebody's been watching them for a minute. Like someone's been
Yeah.
casing the joint for a
Hmm.
minute, right? Like
Yeah.
if they're dressed like him, they're walking like him, right?
Hmm.
They're mimicking everything he's doing. That's
Hmm.
like some next level shit, right? Like that's like some next level
Yeah.
like mimicry and like I need to know more. Like I was so interested. I immediately was like need more information.
Right?
Subscribe. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
I'm
who
like, how
is
long have
this
you been
person?
following him?
Yes, I have to know more. I need all of the information is what I need. Um,
This, from Santiago's point of view, would have been great.
I agree. Especially because Santiago obviously does not like Louis.
Yeah.
And I'm
Straight
like, do you
beef.
see what a simp he is? Is that what it is? Is that he's a fucking shithead who's not doing what he's supposed to be doing by his
Yeah.
family, his vampire family? What is it?
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Because I'm honestly imagining Santiago is like having this whole like setup, and then like this random like toddler just walks into town and starts killing people, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Yep.
leave, get out of my town. I literally just made this entire setup. I have like people lined up that anybody can drink from that have given their written permission. Yeah, we pay them, but like, why are you just killing random strangers? You know?
I think that that's part of why I think that's part of why like they know of Louis in the first place. Like I don't think they
Mhm.
ever really like specifically say that. Like I think they more
Yeah.
allude to it, but I feel
Mhm.
like the reason Santiago knows about Louis in the
Mhm.
first place
Mhm.
is 110% because she was like being fucking too loose, too loosey goosey
Mhm.
around Paris, and somebody noticed her and was like like followed her back to the hotel and saw her
Mhm.
with Louis. Like I'm like
Yeah.
75% sure that that's how that shit went down to begin with. So
Oh
like
yeah.
I this is what I'm saying. If Louis had just had a conversation, he could have had conversations with her about A, how to tell if you're being followed, B, what to do if you're being followed, C,
Mhm.
don't bring them back here, right? Like there's a bunch of things that you can do and that you can say to make sure that like this child who is definitely not a child anymore, but is still
Mhm.
a child compared to how old he is, right? Still a child to him. Maybe not to
Mhm.
other people, but to him, she is still a child. She is younger than he is. Like he could have done more to try and bridge that gap and tell her what she needed to know to prevent her from having these problems and from
Yeah.
having these issues. Because like even talking to Madeline or the lady that she goes to for the dolls and stuff, right? Like they do say she stops being careful, like she's at an age now,
Mhm.
both as a vampire and as a body, where like
Mhm.
when people look at her, they've been less and less and less and less charmed. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
every time that like she like when she'd go out and meet people and she was only like a 25-year-old vampire, right? In a 5-year-old's body. She could
Mhm.
still pretend. She could still act like she was innocent. She could still be like, "Oh, I'm confused. Could you help me find my way home?" Whatever, right? But
Mhm.
like now that she's older, it's harder and harder for her to like not be some kind of like weird supernatural object. Like people see
Mhm.
her and they're like, something's not quite right because they can
Yeah.
see that she's got like something behind her eyes and in the way she holds
Mhm.
herself, the way she walks with purpose. Like 5-year-olds are still like toddling around and fucking bumping into shit, right? Like
Yeah,
running,
falling
skidding their
over.
knees, right? Falling over. Like she's not doing any of that. She's walking in like little hot, like heeled shoes down
Mhm.
cobblestone streets with her muff on and stuff. You know what I mean? Like being very serious and looking alertly around. Like it's clear that something is wrong with this
Mhm.
child now. And like I just don't see like how how could Louis be so stupid
Yeah.
as to not recognize that this is going to be a problem or already is. Like he seems surprised.
Mhm.
Like it feels like, you know, one morning in Paris he woke up and she was suddenly an adult. Like that's
Yeah.
how like his side of the story feels. Like I would love this story from Claudia's perspective as well. Like
Mhm.
Santiago's perspective, yes. But like I'd love this story from Claudia's perspective. Um because like Santiago, I think if it wasn't Claudia that led Santiago to Louis, it might have been Armand. Like Armand following Louis around and
Mhm.
Santiago being jealous that somebody's caught his eye. I could see that story
Yeah.
as well
Armand
being a
hard
reality.
eyes following Louis.
Mhm. Yep, and he's like, "You only have hard eyes for me. I'm right here.
Mhm.
Don't you see me loving you from afar?"
That meme where it's the girl and the guy walking and the guy is like fully turned around.
Yes, that is exactly it right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, for sure. I listen, I honestly don't think I need Armand's point of view. I got it,
Agree.
you know? However, just like the scene of Santiago from like when he discovers Louis to like that brawl, that's all I want. I don't need anything
Mhm.
past that. I just need like a short little novella of what that section of time looked like.
I can understand that, and I agree.
So yeah, now Armand like jumps down, looks at Louis, he's like, "My card. We have a date tomorrow. Here you go. Bye." Leaves. And then like they spend this whole time trying to find vampires. And the fucking place they're going is theater for vampires. theater of vampire. Like how that would have been the first place I would have looked. I would have been like, knock, knock, knock.
Right?
Are you real vampire or are you like weird fans? Like,
Just show up like, hello.
yeah, knock, knock. Hello, me vampire. Door open. Thank you. Like, I
I'm
would have
coming
like
in, whether
walked
you're
up to the
ready or
first.
not.
Yeah, I would have walked to the first actor with a wet wipe. Been like, oh no, okay, that's your real face. Hello, also vampire. Like,
Please help.
yeah, help, please. You know,
Yeah, 1,000% the case.
I would have walked in with a cup of blood and been like, like, here you
I
go.
I don't get it. I don't understand. But again, like Louis is not somebody who makes any kind of sense. So I'm sure he
Yeah,
probably would have seen the sign for Theater of Vampires and been like, too scary.
literally.
I don't know. I'm kind of nervous. Um, one of the things when we do watch the movie, I think one of the things that you'll notice is like the way that this scene is portrayed in the movie. It's much shorter and it's
Mm,
less scary. In
okay,
the book, like I forgot how scary it is though. Like for a minute, Louis is like, "Well, this is it. This is how I die." And
literally.
like in my head, I'm like, "Well, I mean, you kind of deserve it. I don't feel bad for you." But at the same time, I'm like, I'm sure you'll be all right, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you'll be fine. Pat him on the shoulder. You'll
Yeah.
be okay.
Well, it's funny because
You'll be
like
good, friend.
I wasn't scared for him because I actually thought he went insane. I
Yeah?
was fully convinced that he was just insane looking at his own reflection because like when they were like, "Oh, everything matches up. Like everything's exactly like me." I was like, "Oh my god, this guy's lost it." Cuz like he's got a crazy streak, okay? Like
You're not wrong. He does have a wilier side, if you
mhm.
will. That's true. You're
Yeah,
not
like
wrong.
this dude, you know, he's got a lot of hallucinations going on already, so I wasn't like shocked. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, and finally the cup's tipped over. It's happened, you know?
Yeah. Now his marbles are on the floor.
Yeah, all of them right on the ground. His brain cells gone. I was like, whatever. He broke. I was waiting.
Uh-oh.
It's like that childhood wind up toy that you've had since like you were
Mhm.
like 2, and you're like, how's that thing still work? That's how I was feeling about Louis. Okay.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Totally understand.
Batteries have never
Total
been
system
changed.
failure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. 110% the case.
yeah.
I feel like when he finally, I don't know. I just whenever I read books, and I think everybody probably does this, but when I
Mhm,
read books, like I always go, how would I have done this differently? Right? Like what would I have done
mhm,
differently here? That would have been better for me.
mhm,
Um, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like with the fact that he has these instincts, like it feels like he learned absolutely nothing
mhm.
from his previous go round with the vampire in Transylvania, like in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Like it feels like he just didn't get over it. Like he wasn't able to, I don't know, like get on top of that fear because like he reacts with the exact same fear. Like at
Mhm.
no point is he like, I'm gonna stand my ground. I'm gonna face this person down. At no point is he just like, come get me. Fuck you. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like if that had been Lestat would be like, I wish you would. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
dare.
come at me, bro. Like
Yeah.
that would have been a very different scene if it had been Lestat. And like
Mhm.
I understand that's supposed to make us kind of more sympathetic as readers, right? It's supposed
Mm-mm.
to make us feel like Louis is one of the good guys and he doesn't want to hurt anybody and whatever. And sure, that's great. But also, I'm here to read a book about vampires. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I accept that with vampires comes lots of ruthless murder. Um so I get he's trying to be a classy gentleman and I appreciate that about him. But also, what are we doing here?
Literally. Like they make so many wrong decisions. Like first of all, why would you if you're a vampire in like the 19th century, would you A, stay in your tiny ass town or B, go to a major city so you're not easily discovered? I'm gonna pick B. Why was Lestat even in the small town looking for property? Like that seems like a terrible plan.
Yep.
If you have to drink every single night, why are you in a small town with limited resources, okay? Like, here's my whole plan. If I got turned into a vampire tomorrow, I'd find out how long can you go without drinking, okay?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then I would make quick little trips to Miami every so often and then come back to my small town, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
you go to the nearest major city near you so that you are not traced back to wherever your home is.
Yeah.
Why would you cannot eat where you shit, okay?
No. No. And I don't like he doesn't learn
No.
ever.
He picks
Like
up
ever.
victims from like the hotel lobby they're living in, you know?
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Never learns. Never
no.
never turns that page.
Mm-mm.
And I'm just kind of like, ah, shrug.
Yeah,
You're gonna do what you want, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
apparently.
I don't know. I completely agree with you. It's complicated for no reason.
Yeah. And then they go to this fucking date night with Armand basically, which is
Mm-hmm.
they go to the play that they're hosting at the Vampire Theater, and it's literally like a play where they drink their victim on stage for everyone to see. And I'm like,
Yep.
"Oh, so your kink is like performance, I
Yep.
guess." Um Also, like, I get it's called the Theater, but like, do they have any other kind of plays? Like, how do they
That's a
keep
good
bringing
question.
revenue in?
How many times are they in a situation where like somebody just vanishes off the street and was last seen on stage by all of these people in this room? Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
Mhm.
Agree with you.
Mhm.
But I also like I don't know, like I the fact that they just like let anyone in too. It doesn't even sound
Yeah.
like it's by invitation only. Like the fancy seats are by invitation only, and it does
Mhm.
sound expensive, like you have to be rich to go, which
Mhm.
okay, right? That's one way that you're keeping me out of you're keeping me out of like
Mhm.
harm's way, right? You're keeping this a secret for just mostly vampires and then people that are
Mhm.
sympathetic to vampires. And I also get like so have you seen the show Penny Dreadful?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's not a bad show. It's also not good. If you are somebody who likes if you're someone who likes literature and has
Mhm.
read a lot of classic horror literature,
Mhm.
it'll be a little rough because basically it's kind of like if you took the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but you made it like super sexy,
Mhm.
and you put Ava Green in it. So basically, it's about this woman who is a seer. She's plagued by visions, and her caretaker, like the man she lives with, is the
Mhm.
father of Mina Harker, who obviously is from Dracula, right?
Okay.
Um, and he like leaves his family, and that's why she's open to Dracula or whatever. And either Mina or Lucy, I can't remember which his daughter is. I think it might be Lucy.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think he's the father of Lucy, and then Mina Harker is who Dracula takes as his bride. And when
Mhm.
she dies, Ava Green's character, is sort of like a similar kind of archetype, kind of like a similar build.
Mhm.
Um, and she so whatever so that he's played by Timothy Dalton. Then there's like a there are definitely vampires like throughout the series. Nobody
Mhm.
in their core team. There's a Dr. Frankenstein kind of guy. There's a Dorian Gray type of guy situation. So there's these different like bits of old school horror literature that are in this like late 1800s early 1900s kind of
Mhm.
um, gaslit streets sort of environment. And I bring it up because it does shake hands nicely with the tone of this book because it is very kind of gothic horror.
Mhm.
Um, and it's again, it's not bad if you go in expecting absolutely nothing. If you go in expecting to be like wowed as somebody who loves literature, you're going to be very
Mhm.
disappointed. But if you go in just being like this is going to be a sexy goth show, then you'll be fine. For
Okay.
most of the seasons, it's not like I said, it's not bad.
Mhm.
It's just not what I expected, I think, at first, so I had a hard time when I
Yeah.
first watched it. But there are a lot of theaters. The reason I bring it up is because there were a lot of theaters back then that were like theater of the macabre, right? Or
Mhm.
theaters that were supposed to be very lurid. They had like in the 80s we had our equivalent was trauma films, right? Which are like
Mhm.
sexy and scary movies or whatever, that are very B movie and camp. Back then it was like theaters. People would just go to these theaters and they'd read penny dreadfuls, right? These like little penny novels that were lurid and, you know, saucy and bloody and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this reminds me of. That's
Mm-hmm.
what these scenes remind me of, and a lot of them were fake. Like all of them, most of them were fake, right? It was just like buckets of red food coloring and early, you know, stand-ins for blood, or they'd use pig's blood or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right, to like make these scenes. So I imagine that's how they like hide in plain sight, because France did have a lot of those back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, I feel like she could have done more to talk about why it is commonplace. I feel like she kind of, I feel like Anne Rice kind of assumes that the reader knows that there are reasons that this wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Um, it's so funny too, because like part of the reason that I got into TTRPGs is because of Interview with the Vampire. Funny story.
Mm-hmm.
So when Hot Topic first opened in my town, I was in grade school and I had read Interview with the Vampire by that time. And my mom was like, "You've got to go in this store. There's this new store. You got to see it." And this is like back in the day when Hot Topic was actually like edgy,
Yeah.
and like people are afraid to go in there. People would like pass it and be like shaking in their boots, like looking at it and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it was a different time. um and so like I remember going in there with my mom, and Vampire the Masquerade had taken off, right?
Mm-hmm.
The TTRPG, the role playing game, Vampire the Masquerade. There was a TV show on air around this time called Kindred the Embraced that was also about Vampire the Masquerade. It took
Mm-hmm.
all of the different classes. They're called clans in the book, but it's basically like the families that you can be from, like Toreador, Ventru, Camarilla, all that stuff. And it took all of those people and then like personified them. So it gave you like actors that were
Mm-hmm.
playing those, like playing characters from those families, and it was all about the power dynamics and of vampires in undercover society in LA. And it like predates Buffy and stuff. It's like it's old school. It's really good. I have it on
Yeah.
DVD. I had to scour the internet for it. But it was like the one grown up show that I was allowed to watch because I was obsessed with vampires. And my mom was like, "Well, I guess I can't say no to you. You are good and you do get good grades and you read a
Mm-hmm.
lot of books." And I was like, "Thanks." Um,
Nice.
so when I went to Hot Topic, they had a Vampire the Masquerade shirt,
Mm-hmm.
but the shirt that I have says Theater of the Vampires on it, and it has a vampire that is standing there with a skull in his hand, like poor Yorick kind of way, like a Shakespearean skull, and
Mm-hmm.
has a rose in his hands. Right now, at the time, I looked at that and I went, "Oh, that's Santiago. Like this is a poster for the
Mm-hmm.
Theater of the Vampires in Interview with the Vampire. Clearly,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have to have this shirt. I love that book. I'm nuts about it. I've got to have the shirt." So I bought the shirt, right, with my money.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very big deal for me. Fast forward to now,
Mm-hmm.
right? I still have the shirt. I actually had to rebuy the shirt because my ex stole it from me. And then I found it
Asshole.
online, like, yeah, like he was being terrible and he stole it. So like I found this shirt online somewhere that somebody was selling it on Etsy or something, like a
Mm-hmm.
vintage shop, and I bought it again so that I could have it in my possession. So I look at the shirt now and I'm like, "Oh, it's a Vampire the Masquerade shirt."
Mm-hmm.
Toreador is one of the clans that you can be a part of, and
Mm-hmm.
Toreadors are known for, like, their symbol is the rose, and they're known for being patrons of the arts, the theater. There are a lot of singers, a lot of actors are Toreadors. They are the most kind of libertine of all of the clans. They tend to have the most kind of hedonistic parties. They drink the most wine, have the most familiars, like all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're like the Lannisters of of Vampire the Masquerade. Um, so like that's actually what attracted me to TTRPGs in the first place, is seeing this thing that I thought was Theater of the Vampires, you know, interview with the vampire,
Mm-hmm.
but was actually not at all. It was some whole other shit.
I love
um
that.
yeah, so like I don't know, like the whole theater thing, I like that it's there. I just think she could have provided more backstory about why it was something that was so common, because again, even I as a child was like, "Oh, this is proprietary to Anne
Yeah.
Rice, like she made up this vampire theater and it's her
Yeah.
thing." No, not the case.
Yeah. Because I didn't know that until
There
you
were
just
lots of
said
them.
that. So I'm glad you
Yeah.
said something for the audience because I had no idea.
Yeah, like it's a random fact to know, but like that was totally normal back then. So I think that's why they don't stick out, because they play their cards right. Like all of those theaters were open at night. All of those theaters probably had people pretending to be demons and haunts
Mm-hmm.
and goblins and ghosts and specters and vampires and whatever, right? There were lots of like weird like snuff plays where they would like act like somebody's head was getting chopped off. Some of them were political.
Hmm.
Um that were about like people that were just like, you know, in that were in governing bodies nearby or
Mhm.
whatever. But yeah, for a long time that was like that was entertainment. Like you'd go to like a creepy show
Wild.
at like a random cabaret, but like I just wonder, like, how do they write their plays, right? Like, they don't know exactly what the girl is gonna say, so you know it's probably like vampire improv, right?
Yeah.
And I've never seen such serious improv in my life, and I just wonder, like, this girl has like all this stuff to say. They have a rebuttal for literally every single thing she's saying.
Mhm.
She's like, but won't I be missed? You will not be missed.
I know.
Everyone is missed eventually. But I'm so young and beautiful. Do you want your skin to turn old? You will always be young. Like he has an answer for everything, every single thing.
Yeah.
One question. Well, what about my dog? You don't think we will feed your dog? Like just
Your dog becomes vampire dog.
yes. That's exactly how it feels. And I'm just like, so people are just fine with this. They come and watch the same show every time and the victim just says different lines. I don't understand, guys. That's
Yeah.
obviously a problem.
Like, what do they change up? Because, like, do they just run through different, like, scenes?
I'm dying to know. I need to know. I want to
Yeah.
see the rest of the plays. Like someone send me the afternoon, the matinee performance of this play. I want to know what
Literally.
that's like.
I'm like, how many different, like, victims do they get a night? Because, like, at some point, or, like, is this just a different play because they knew they were going to have Claudia and Louis in
True.
the audience? That's a possibility. And the
That
rest
could
of them are
be
just, like,
it.
kind of grotesque.
I just feel like their audience just wasn't surprised enough. Like the
Yeah.
way that it's narrated about their audience, like they just weren't surprised enough for me.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I think that like too something I didn't realize before, because in the movie the way this is played out is very much just the one lady, right?
Mhm.
The young girl, the younger girl. They don't really talk about the older woman because
Mhm.
that's part of it too. There's an older lady that's
Mhm.
also on stage, right? That's human. And
Yeah.
I completely forgot about her until I reread it. I was like, "Oh my god, there's two victims
Yeah.
on stage because there's the old woman that like and it's so shitty too. He like makes a joke about the old lady and how she smells and he doesn't want her. I was like,
Yeah.
"Geez, like fucking brutal. These vampires are mean."
Like,
Oh
what
my
age do
god.
you hit that, like, vampires are no longer interested? Like,
I need to know. 45. No, thank you.
yeah, they're like, all right.
Why not? I'm good. I'm
They're
sexy
like,
still.
they're like, I smell menopause. You're good. Like,
Yeah,
what?
I'm
What?
okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Wait, did they
It's
just
too
like,
late. It's too late for you.
yeah. At what point do your like checklist go down? You're like, all right, good. I hit the vampire resistance like birthday. You
I
know?
don't know. Terrible.
Oh my god. I just want to know because, like, we have these important milestone birthday. 16, you get to learn to drive. 18, you get to vote. 21, you get to drink. 25, you can rent a car. 16, no longer got to get eaten by vampires. Like just a
Like
couple
I just
questions.
for me, I'm just over here like, I hope I'm never too old.
Yeah.
Come
Wink,
come
wink.
get me. My
Yeah.
neck is right here. My blood is anemic, so you probably won't like it, but
Yeah.
still, come get it. I don't have a lot, but I'll give it to you.
Listen, I've told all my friends, if you ever turn into a vampire, you at least have to ask. You know,
Please holla at your boy.
yeah, let me know. Let me consider it.
Especially if you have cool powers like turning into somebody who looks real scary.
Yeah,
Like if you get like a scary vampire face and a beautiful vampire face, I'm down for that.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
if I can fly, double cool.
Yeah.
However, I need to know your feeding schedule. Like, if you're
Yes.
telling me that I'm gonna have to like, if I could just like drink from someone once every couple days,
Yeah.
but I don't have to like drain anybody, I could be
Yeah.
down for that.
Me
But
too.
like, if
I
you're telling,
I am persuasive enough to get what I need.
yeah,
Plus vampire persuasion. I mean,
all I'm saying is there's a kink for everybody. So like, someone's
agreed.
gonna be down for that.
Including 13-year-old boys that work for Armand.
Apparently.
Skipping
Oh,
ahead. Excuse me.
it's
Skipping
fine.
ahead.
It's oh my god. It'd be like that. So, on that note, I think that's all we're gonna have time to talk about today. We'll get more into the rest of the play on next week's episode. because there's a lot to talk about with this play.
A
A
lot,
lot. A lot.
especially the after party.
Yes. But Candace, where can the people of the internet find you and the things that you are doing?
You can find me at that Candace girl on Twitter, where I do most of my updates about what's going on with me. You can also find me at Candace the Magnificent, all one word, Candace, and that's going to be me on Twitch, where I stream sometimes, not enough, on YouTube and on Instagram that I don't post on enough. So yeah, Twitter is probably the best bet. But you can find me at over at Crossroads Games if you're interested in TTRPGs. I do a lot of work with them. You can find their videos on YouTube, and then you can also find me in a few podcasts, including Bookhound Bounty Hunters over on 12 Sided Stories, which you can find anywhere you get your pods.
And then, of course, we'll also see you here next week.
Yes.
And we'll catch you all later. Bye.
Bye.